In the last video, we pulled out the broken rear differential, stripped it down, and rebuilt it with a Terrafirma TF450 e-locker and Ashcroft 437 gears. That's assembled and sitting on the bench, so now it's time to pull the front apart to add a matching gear set and an Ashcroft ATB. Removing the front differential housing is a bit more complicated than the rear, since we have to strip off all the steering linkage and pull the entire front hub and axle assembly. I'm choosing to do it the lazy way, which leaves the hub and brakes together instead of disassembling everything. All you have to do is remove these bolts, and the hub, along with the CV, brake rotor, and caliper, and axle, can be pulled out just enough to allow the differential to be removed from the housing. Through a bit of movie magic, the new parts are already installed into the front housing and it's ready to go back into the axle. If you want to see some details on this process, check out my previous video. Some black RTV will seal the two housings together, and a small transmission jack makes maneuvering the surprisingly heavy differential a lot easier. My only note for the front drive shaft is to remember to align the U-joints properly. I had to slide the front section off to get the necessary clearance for the differential, and reinstalling the front U-joint out of phase with the rear joints would introduce vibration. This was supposed to be the part where I pull these axles all the way out, strip them down completely, and replace all the seals and bearings. However, I want to drive this thing down to California in a few days, and I need to wrap up this project as soon as possible. I do have all the parts to refresh the hubs, so I'll do that at some point this winter. For now, I'm just going to slam these back together with some high tack on the old paper gasket and call it good. It really is embarrassing to put these back together in this state. I want you to know that this is not an accurate reflection of who I am. After the new gears break in for a couple hundred miles, I'll drain this oil and check the magnetic drain plugs for metal shavings. There will likely be some fine particles, but hopefully no big chunks. So there's the front, all done with a couple new parts and a bunch of old parts. Now we can go grab the rear differential and throw that in. Here's the e-locker we're putting in the back. Installing this is identical to installing the front differential. While we wait for the RTV to cure, I should do something about this rear axle that got a bit shredded when the differential let go. I could probably clean this up with a grinder and it would be fine, but I have a parts cart for this very reason. This axle is in better shape, so I'll use it for now. I really had to fight the urge to paint this because it looks horrible. It'll be replaced with a stronger one soon, so that's how I'm justifying the look. The RTV is cured, so I'll torque these 10 bolts to 41 Newton meters and install the rear drive shaft. My motivation for rolling the dice with the Terrafirma locker is that I wanted one with an electronic engagement, not air. I don't want to have an onboard compressor and all the associated potential points of failure. Time will tell if this gamble pays off, but for now I'm happy to only have to run a single wiring loom up to the switch in the cabin. The locker wires follow a factory loom along the body into the engine compartment. I'm drilling a new hole next to the cruise control vacuum line to get into the cabin. From there, the wires run up the A-pillar and under the front of the headliner to the sunroof switch panel. My sunroofs are currently bolted shut, so the switches are of no use. At some point, I'll probably put a winch switch in place of the other sunroof switch. The only way to break in these gears is to put some miles on them and avoid prolonged high-speed driving, which could put too much heat into them. Luckily, I have plenty of slow mountain highways near me, so this is pretty much what my weekend is going to look like. Remember, I'm supposed to do a 10-hour trip down I-5 next week, which is exactly the wrong thing to do with brand new gears. Hopefully I can put 100 or 200 miles on them this weekend, change the oil, and then cross my fingers they're bedded in enough. Just driving around on the street, the gearing change from 354 to 437 is really noticeable. The truck feels about like it did with stock tires and stock gearing, which is to say, quite slow, but not necessarily dangerous. Besides all that, I'm pretty keen to test the locker in ATB, so I found a spot that should allow me to test some things without having to do a full-on off-road trip. So these holes will get the disco pretty cross-axled. Normally on a muddy day like this, I'd have to hit it with some speed to clear it. I went really slow this time, and you can see the front right tire lift, which renders the front ATB pretty much useless. You can also see the rear left tire spin, so in this situation I would be stuck. But here, all I had to do is hit the rear locker switch, and the rear differential immediately locked, and it crawled out with no issues. I'm super impressed with how instantaneous the engagement is. Alright, I think that does it for part 2 of the gears and locker install videos. Overall, I'm super happy with the locker, and I can tell the ATB will be nice in certain situations. If I were to do it again, I'd probably opt for another e-locker up front. But either way, this is a massive improvement, and I can't wait to start making some more videos in the woods after this road trip. Thanks for watching.